Okay, I'm just going to give it 10 seconds or so just to make sure the stream catches up. And then we'll have a nice Q&A session. Yeah. So
Very
folks,
nice.
here we are today. We're going to do a Q&A session with the wonderful, amazing Charlie Freak, and his even more amazing and wonderful partner, Colleen. So I've been having a go. I've been bumming Colleen up quite a bit, you know. So she deserves it. Putting up with Charlie, yeah. Anyway, good characters, these two. I really love the work that they're doing on Freak Sense TV. It's really a holistic education, I think, in many different aspects, and they're not afraid to go after the truth, regardless of the path that it goes down and the consequences for putting that kind of truth out there, which is what I think people should do. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, you know, and let the cards fall where they may after that. Anyways, the two of them have done a great deal of research, and they've got an animal sanctuary. They look after animals, and I believe you grow your own food and everything like that. So even things like that's very inspiring. They kind of practice what they preach, which not many kind of educators do these days. So I'd like to welcome you both to the show, and if you just want to introduce yourselves further, and then we'll take it from there, yeah?
Thanks so much, Billy. We appreciate that very much. And that's an excellent point to raise about, you know, sort of, if you're going to talk the talk, it's just, both of us were always raised that way anyways. It's just how we were raised in our families, is that if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. So whatever we are, you know, we are 24 hours of a solar day. And I think that's important. You just have to be authentic. And that's, boy, is that ever lacking. And I know you know that big time, Billy. That's what's lacking in the world. Yeah. It's just the lack of authenticity. And, you know, I think initially it started with you asking us about our thoughts on David Icke, if we would touch that subject. And then after you broached it, we've had so many people and sort of, you know, bigger names and the truth community as well approach us about the same topic, and they've all kind of said the same thing, that our thoughts kind of resonated with them as well. It's like, for someone who knows as much as David does, and he does, he's, you know, like he was there when we came into it at the forefront. He was there, and he knows a ton. But man, he just goes nowhere with it, and that's a real danger, because if you awake people up to this insanity, to this level of insanity, like what's happening every day now, and if there's no hope, you've damned these people in kind of a fiery hell. And so that's what we're trying to do here, Billy, is really right now be as strong and as positive and as hopeful for everyone as we possibly can, because we see so many people led down this garden path, you know, by some of the people in the community, and then they just get stranded nowhere.
Well, David Icke was the guy that kind of 30 years ago, somebody handed me a video, one of our video things called Turning Off the Tide. And I watched that, and then I watched the news, and I just went, well, that's total bullshit. And then from there, that kind of got me researching all this stuff. And at the start of his stuff, it was very meat and potatoes. It was like Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderberg Group, and all this kind of stuff. And I was like telling my friends that, and they weren't really interested. I was like, why not? We need to know this stuff. And then he came up with a reptilian agenda. Now, I think there is truth in there, but basically it was very scaremongering way that we went about it. And then when you tell your friends that, it's even more, you know, you're a nutter, you know. And the kind of labels, that conspiracy thing even more, if you talk about these issues, they immediately label you with David Icke. And then when I found out about the things like the legal name and how vital the birth certificate is to your control, then I wondered why he wasn't talking about that. Because if you keep talking about the dangers and what's coming, that's creating that timeline. But you guys and why I like you is the solutions of your body and the science behind the practical things you can do, and the raising of the chrism oil and this kind of stuff is like how to solve it, you know, how to move away from it. You have to understand that stuff, but you have to, you know, then choose a different path from it, you know. So,
absolutely, and if I may just quickly interject, Collywog, you know, and we're not going to get into everybody today, but again, you know, for the last 5 years or 3 years at the very least, Max Egan's number one thing, just ranting day after day after day and scaring the daylights out of people with 5G. And believe me, we absolutely know what the horrors of 5G would have been. And believe me, that was the real coronavirus. The coronavirus is nothing but those symptoms, backed by driving you mentally unstable and just rapid brain waves and out of control via the 5G. That's what was going to be the virus that was literally killing people and making people mad. So we do know the vast dangers of 5G. But again, you spend all that time studying it and talking about it. I never once did I ever hear him say, but you know what? If you control your brain waves, there's nothing it can do. And you see, and that's the heart. See, and this is why this stuff is so important, because that leads us to God and God's creation. And God didn't make victims. He made powerful victors and champions. That's what we are. That's absolutely, it doesn't look like it sometimes, but we absolutely are. He made us, Michael's and Gabriel's and avenging angels, and we have the power of the power within us, because everything that we need to be uber strong is right there. So we're not victims. You're not victims. So you control your brain waves and your thoughts, then 5G just rolls right past you. There's nothing it can do. And it's the same thing with any airborne contagion. If you are right, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they make. It doesn't matter what they do. It's always just about you. It's what you do. Because if you realize temple 1, temple 2, and you take care of these 2 temples in a goodly, godly, righteous, virtuous fashion, there's nothing anybody can do. Nothing that anyone. And literally, that's what they're showing you in the Matrix. Somebody fires a gun at you with a bullet. You can literally move out of the way of bullets. You can literally have a bullet pass through you. It is just what you know versus what you believe.
Well, I was talking to somebody the other day, and we've got this information of an experiment that happened in Russia called Children of Winter, I think it's called. And what happened was they let these very young kids kind of develop naturally and just provided food for them. And basically what happened, these kids developed the power to teleport and to basically have telekinesis, to walk on water, and all these kind of things that we would deem unbelievable. Now that shows you the level of suppression that we're under as a human race. If we've got access to these kind of things naturally, they're trying to introduce this brain chip or whatever, but we can do that and far more if left to develop our natural innate spiritual abilities, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. You speak to that.
Well, that's just the exciting part of what's happening now. For me, these things can actually start to manifest for us, whereas it was just like a dream. Oh, you mean we could really do stuff like that? Wow, that'd be really cool. But now we have some gnosis, and we have some information coming to us, and now we have this incredible Q and white hat scenario coming down the pipe, where we're just like, oh my God, this could actually happen to us, right? This is happening now, and those of us who have ears to hear and eyes to see in this moment, we're just super excited about what's happening to us as humanity.
To me, even just the idea of Q, whether you believe in it or not, just that idea that there is hope and there is people coming together and they're searching for the truth. Let's say that isn't the truth, but that can start them digging for the truth. Eventually, you'll get to the truth.
Solutions, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we need that hope, basically. But at the same time, I don't want it to be something that we just sit back and let these guys make it happen. We have to do the change ourselves.
Absolutely.
Have to match that.
But that's, if you really get into Q, that's what he's asking you to do, right? Yeah. If you were to read the posts, that's what he's getting you, or they are getting you to do, whoever Q is. They're getting you to think for yourself, critically think, and to basically realize that we have the responsibility of changing things. Yeah. I see questions up there.
Yeah, we're going to get to that just shortly, because we could talk all day. Okay. But yeah, it's a very good introduction to you both, and thanks for that. So just before we go into the questions, I'd just like to tell people my internet connection might go off. It does happen once every 3 or 4 days. So if it does happen, go back to my page and we'll do a new link and we'll kick back up as soon as we can. But hopefully that won't happen. Don't want to tempt fate. So we'll just start with a question that came up from Chipmunk, and he's asking, what would really like to know what and when you eat. I'm actually quite interested in that myself because it's so hard when you go into a supermarket these days. It's like, I can't eat any of this shit. What am I supposed to put my body? Then there's expensive vegetables and fruit that are not organic, as well. And is that going to do me any good at the same time, So what about you guys? How do you go about it?
Can I start with this and then I'll let you finish? Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up. Hi, Chip. Great question, buddy, and wonderful to have you here. Natalie and Sue and Stephen McGuire, that's awesome. Krista, hello, Krista. We love you and your family. Maureen, Jane, oh my gosh, everyone that's here. That's the thing about our family and Billy as well. We love you guys. We're so proud of all of you. And you see, the interesting thing about our channel is that we have no interest in being gurus or stars or the leaders or whatever.
Which we're not.
We're not. On these other channels, they all kind of turn themselves into icons and gurus, and then everybody kind of looks up, and you can't challenge them on anything and whatnot. That's if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see that's just not what happens at all. Everyone feels so comfortable to question us and call us out on anything and everything. And that's what's important. We're not here to create followers. We're here to be teachers and enlighten minds so that they can do better things than us, just like Billy will grow and continue and do better things than us. So that's what's beautiful. So you brought up supermarkets. Let me tell you, folks, they control every single aspect of organized society, and a huge one is food. And that's why these supermarkets were created, and they're evil. And you should call them what they should be called, and what they're really known within their circles, and they're death markets. Because what supermarkets sell is death. And you can say, well, fruits and vegetables, yeah, but they're not vine ripened. And the thing that it's important to understand and to understand holistically is that anything that's grown on a vine, just like a human child or any other mammal as well that grows on the vine, it has to mature, it has to ripen, and there's a time for it to be born. There's a time for that separation to occur. And it needs to be the right time. Again, with everything, folks, always there's a right and a wrong. There's a right way and a wrong way. And supermarkets do everything the wrong way. So even their fruits and vegetables are picked so early, making them essentially, a good word to describe them is that you're buying sterile fruits and vegetables. There's no wisdom in them. And remember, Mother Earth, she's very real. The Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz coming constantly. And if you put your ear to the earth, you can literally feel her and hear her. 7 plus 8 is 15, and 3 is 18. 18 is chi, the energy of life. That's our magnetic electrical ether. And 1 and 8 is 9, which is God consciousness. So that is the connection of the Father and the Mother in the earth. That's why going barefoot is just so crucial. And even if it's just for, they say as little as 15 minutes a day, but, literally, even if you just did 5 minutes a day, connecting your feet to the mother and allowing that resonance, that magnetic electrical resonance to run through you. This is life.
The chloroform as well from the grass kind of goes into the feet.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, there's so many benefits because Mother Nature is the real pharmacy, is the real food store, and is the real pharmacy because let thy food be thy medicine. Hippocrates said, and it's just so true. It's just a holistic approach and a very simple, direct. So supermarkets are death markets, and when you walk down these aisles, and remember, folks, what we talked about with Santos and Josh, and that's this. all these foods, especially in the vegan world, with Mark Devlin as well. When Mark, that was a great podcast. If you haven't seen it, you should see it, with Mark Devlin on why do so many people who go vegan fail? Because you don't have the first idea of what being a vegan or going vegan is. The first thing to understand is that we are frugivores, 100%. There's nothing that's different inside, outside between us and the other mammals that exist that are frugivores. So, monkeys and apes and chimpanzees and all these, and they're brilliant. They're so clever. They're athletic. They're just brilliant creations. And that's it. So what we just need to do, folks, is recognize who we are, which are frugivores, and then what is that? That means that they eat raw, and they eat predominantly fruit, some vegetables. Sometimes they forage for seeds and nuts and even some grains, but it's just raw, and it's raw fruit. And so when you're asking about our diet, it is a very, very simple diet. I'll let you take it from there.
We've actually changed our diet quite a lot in the last few months, paring it down into a very monolithic diet. So at this point, for me, it's mostly fruit and orange juice. I really like orange juice. It seems to give me all the energy I need.
It's gold.
Bananas. So throughout the day, we have lots of mangoes, whatever's kind of a fresh fruit that has a lot of, liquid in it.
Do you grow your food?
We live kind of in an orchard, so
Yeah.
it's really nice. We have the trees around us, and during the fruit season of like mangoes are right now abundant everywhere. So you just have to go outside. They're on the ground. You pick them up, and if they don't have worms, you eat them. It's wonderful. Yeah. So, but what we don't have here, we go to the market, and there's like an open market, and you can get lots of people growing other things that you can buy. So, and then in the evenings we eat a salad, and sometimes we'll have a cooked portion of it underneath the salad. So it'll be like a rice base. But mostly it's just, and then sometimes you'll have some grains, but generally we don't. We just are kind of paring it down into the fruit section.
Yeah, and what Colleen's referring to is this substance that we cook is we call it neat, and because obviously it's a reference on yike, what we partook in long ago in that whole meat business. But so you make it, better than anyone else. So again, it's rice, it's lentils, it's rolled oats.
And I take the pulp from the juicing, and
I
put that inside.
Yeah, and of course, and Colleen didn't mention that. So that's the big thing. So the two biggest things with how we eat every single day is built in and around Colleen freshly squeezing. She just has a big, beautiful press, and she just freshly squeezes her own orange juice. And I'm telling you, in like the span of about 10 minutes, she can get 2-3 liters of orange juice, which is good, because then she'll drink 2 or 3 liters in 2 or 3 hours of orange juice. Yeah. So we go through a lot.
I remember as a kid, my mom used to say, "Don't drink so much orange juice," but now I'm just like,
yeah, and then my job for the food inside making it is the juicing. And so I'm juicing about every third day. It makes us enough, about 6 to 8 liters of juice. And so what I'm typically juicing are 3 variations. So I'll typically do a pure fruit. So that could be typically our watermelon. That don't let anyone distract you away. So I've seen this sometimes. I've even seen on some people's charts about what are alkaline and what are acidic foods. I've seen some people even have watermelon down like in the acidic level. Oh my goodness! Wow, the subterfuge that's out there is frightening. So watermelon is about 99% alkaline. It's about 13 out of 14 on your scale, on your chart. what's the litmus paper, on the litmus paper, which we're going to get into if we have time
Natalie just
during
said she
discussion.
lived off orange juice when she was pregnant with both her boys.
Fantastic, Natalie, fantastic. So we'll do a pure fruit juice, watermelon. Watermelon is so good because, again, the alkalinity is so high, it's so pure, and it just balances everything out. When you're drinking watermelon, or when I'm juicing watermelon, out of an entire watermelon, the pulp that comes out of it is about a cup. That's it. So watermelon is so good for you because the human body has so little to process. And this is, if we're going to get into this, let's just give you the real sort of important part of this. And that's when you're eating, the less stress you put on your body, the less work you cause your body to do, because your body's a miracle. It'll do virtually anything. You can put it under the most enormous amount of stress and it'll do it because it is a miracle. But there's a toll, there's a price for everything. And so what we want is we want our skin to regenerate. We want our teeth to heal themselves from the horror. If you guys want to get into dentistry today, I can let you know everything about their evil plan with our teeth. It's terrible. And so everything that we do when we do it raw takes all the stress away from our system. And so this is really important. This ties into flat Earth. Why does the Earth have to be flat, still, and stationary with a dome and the ether inside the dome? Because again, that's your head. So if I come over here, and there's the sphenoid bone, and that it goes in from the bridge of your nose, and it creates inside of you a flat plane. So that's Middle Earth that Professor Tolkien wrote about, and he wrote about. That's why he called it Middle Earth. But most people don't get this because most people don't take the time to read all of the Lord of the Rings and in particular the Silmarillion. But that's exactly what he's describing. And we can get into this today as well, and one of the questions, pre-questions that we had was this discussion about octaves. Yeah, that's what the physical realm is.
Let's just finish with our question.
So all of this relates back to human physiology. And again, the Earth has to be flat and stationary because we have to be flat, still, and stationary to be able to achieve the miracles that we do. And remember, we're designed to be living long lives. And in fact, of course, as we teach, you can absolutely live forever. And that's what's coming with Nasara Jasara, this release of the free energy. Now, this free energy.
No. Now we're still talking about the food. He was asking, when do we eat? So what do we eat and when do we eat? So when do we eat?
So we have one sort of meal through the day, and that just would be like a dinner. And that is always a salad. And Colleen prepares that with beautiful, just fresh cucumbers and tomatoes and whatever we have that's fresh. It's beautiful. And then a lot of the times we will add Colleen's incredible meat, and that will have mushrooms. And as we talked about, Colleen can easily provide that recipe for anyone. And again, it's the same thing. If you're going to cook food, you're cooking food at lower temperatures, coconut oil, lower temperatures for longer periods of time. And of course, if you're in a rush, you can't do that. And then that's how they trap you. And then it's high heat, cheap oils, and you're turning the most beautiful food and you're killing it. You're making it acidic.
And the other thing we put on top of all of that is avocado. So we eat quite a bit of avocado.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know it's a good oil, but it gives you that substance anyway. Because we get cravings once in a while, and I need to have something. And when we eat, So
that would be the one meal a day, and we try to do that earlier as much as we can because the work gets out of control here with all the animals. It does. And so if we can have it around 3:30, that would be great. Sometimes it's as late as 8:30 because sometimes Charlie Colleen's mad at me. Get in here, but I'm not finished yet. So everything's got to be done. So sometimes it's later, but that's about it. And we try to do the one proper meal a day We try to do that as early as possible. So if we can do it 3:30, we will. And typically it's say 4:35, and that's it. We try to get it. Now, in the mornings, I have like a homemade granola, and basically, more than anything else, it's just filled with raisins and cranberries and pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds and coconut, and then I just put in a little bit of soy milk with it, and oh, that is absolutely fantastic. And just so for everyone here to know, whatever your thoughts are on this, I think people have really kind of perverted this, but we absolutely do consume honey, and we have a honey that is produced here in the valley for us, and it's very benignly done locally, and it's we absolutely love it. And again, honey is miel, and of course it's miel because it comes from the root, which is melita, melissa, and meliz, and that is in Sanskrit and Latin and Greek, that is honey, and that is the pineal gland. And so there's a powerful golden goodness to honey. So for when people tell you that you cannot be a vegan if you're eating honey, that just absolutely isn't true. And that's,
but for us, it's more not just being a vegan. It's just being conscious of putting alkaline in our bodies, and more of a Garden of Eden diet as opposed to a label. But Maureen's asking here, she loves kale, but what's our view on milk, cheese, and eggs? Yikes. Well, now I used to eat a lot of cheese and eggs quite a few years ago, but almost every morning I would have an egg. And I can tell you that I gained a lot of weight. My body didn't like it. I liked the taste of it. I grew up on a farm, so that's what we grew up with. But milk and cheese and eggs, and they create a lot of mucus in your body. So it's really hard for your body I found I was dehydrated even when I drank a lot of water because my cells just couldn't absorb the liquid because of all the mucus. So I'm totally not into milk, cheese, or eggs, and not just for the reason that it's harmful to the animals, but it's harmful to us. So Charlie has a big view on that.
Well, and so I'll just quickly finish then. So what does our day look like with regard to food? It's very informal. So Collywog throughout the day, she juices, so she partakes in the juice that I make. So once again, with the juices, I do 3 juices. I do a pure fruit, typically say just a pure watermelon juice. Wow, just drinking heaven. And then I'll do a pure veggie. So that will be ginger root, beets, carrots, and celery and cucumbers.
And these little Mexican apples.
Yeah, well, no, I separate. I separate. Yeah. So that is just the pure veggie one. So once again, that's beets, celery, cucumbers, and carrots with ginger root, and that's the pure veggie, and that comes out purple, and it's purple rain. It's purple rain. It's activating the Ajna 6th eye chakra, and it's creating the crown. It's golden. It's amazing stuff.
And it doesn't have that great of a shelf life, so you have to drink it really quick.
Yeah, it does, amazingly so. Days, yeah, but it does have to be consumed quickly. So that's why I juice every 3rd day. So, and then the 3rd juice that I make as well is a mixture. And so our favorite is carrot and these Mexican apples, which are smaller than what you would be accustomed to, but they're very delicious. So it's carrot, apples, and ginger root again. And during the season now, like with the mangoes just going crazy, and it's our favorite mangoes, then we add the mango into it as well. And it's just pure heaven. So during the day, Colleen drinks whenever she feels and keeps herself hydrated by just drinking that juice throughout the day. And then she'll sit down and have dinner with me, and that's a salad-based dinner. And like I say, on top, it's the avocado, and the avocado is great, folks, because if you're feeling with the transition from, this is a big one, because you have to feel right, you have to feel good, and you have to feel right. So if you're feeling by switching to a pure vegetarian or vegan diet, we call Garden of Eden diet or lifestyle, and you're feeling a little empty at times, it's okay. It's okay to just slowly poach or boil a potato, and
Sweet
to put
potato.
a sweet potato, way better than just a normal potato. Sweet potatoes are actually great.
And that's hard for me because I am a potato freak. That's all I used to eat was just potatoes. I love potatoes, any way you want to put them.
Scotland
But
green
yeah.
chips. Greasy
Yeah,
chips.
exactly. I love those. But yeah, after learning that they're not that great for you and it's really heavy, that the sweet potato is so much better. So that's what we switched to.
Yeah. And so it's not a bad thing. Don't worry about it. Remember, if you're juicing the orange juice and the other ones that we just talked about, that's pure alkalinity. So if you have a potato that's right around the middle point, don't worry. You're so far up on the litmus scale. You're so far up. Don't worry about it. At the end of the day, remember, it's balance. It is about a balance. You just want to avoid the things that are very acidic, because acid is death. You just need to know this.
Especially if you're having a very emotional day,
Yeah.
you know, your emotions can create acid too.
That's
so
right.
It's really good to try to balance that with alkaline foods. Monk says, yeah, I feel slow after eating eggs. Yeah, it's very true. After milk and cheese and eggs, it's a tough one.
Okay, and I'll just quickly segue into why. So first off, you need to understand that the dairy industry is as bad or worse in how they treat their animals than the meat industry. And if that's possible, because if any of you have seen any of the documentaries about what these abattoirs are actually like, it's horrific beyond description. You can't ascend if you're partaking in this.
To me, it's the same as the... Go ahead.
I started being a vegetarian a few years ago because of that, one of those documentaries. I actually came back from my mother, and she didn't want to live with a vegetarian, so she forced me to eat meat. But again, I watched your documentary, your podcast, where you explain the science of this. And when you do put these acidic things in your body, the body has to react to, get rid of them and create these parasites and stuff. So now that makes you even think even more when you put this stuff. You're actually not just the fruit makes it easy, but actually the body has to go to work to kill the bad stuff,
Right, and so this is a great point to bring up again, and this is what we're trying to really have everyone understand. Where we ascend is through stillness and silence. It is. And so you can maintain stillness and silence when you eat, if you eat raw and if you juice, and especially things like orange juice. It's orange, it's golden. OR and UR mean the same thing, and they both mean AU, which is gold. So they're golden. They give life. They're golden. And when you drink these things, you're nourishing your cells. Because remember, this might sound controversial to you because of even within the truth community, all the demonization of sugar that everybody does. But remember, what your cells, if you're going to live if you train them to live via the intake of nutrients, what they need more than anything else is just a pure natural sugar. That's literally what cells feed off of. They just need a natural sugary water. So because they hydrate themselves. And the sugary water that is naturally occurring in fruits and vegetables is exactly what your cells are expecting. No surprises. So, and especially when you wake up in the morning, this is so key, because what you don't realize is that through the night you've been fasting. You're constantly teaching your body, you're constantly teaching your mind new things and new ways to do things. And every night that you sleep, you're telling your body that it's supposed to go long periods of time without any intake of food. Okay? So what is the worst thing? And by the way, and it all plays out. We always tell you, 100 years they've been lying to us, about 100 years, right? So around World War I, about 100 years ago, what was the big push that they did? That breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and you need meat and eggs and dairy and a big glass of milk and eggs and meat. And it's oh my God, it's the worst always what they tell us is the 180-degree opposite of what the truth is. So breakfast, what does breakfast mean? Break the word down. You just need to really listen to us when we say everything is etymology. Everything. You need to know your words. So breaking fast is breakfast, right? They put the truth in plain sight for you. You're just not seeing it. Breaking fast. Yeah, so we're fasting all night long. And if you're going to break the fast, you break it gently. Break it to them gently when you tell your mom and dad. Burton Cummings, Gnostic warrior. The Guess Who?
So
Burton Cummings, genius.
the whole fasting for intermittent fasting, I found that is a wonderful thing for my body. It really benefits from that. So not eating since 4 o'clock or something, and that from the day before till maybe 10 or 11 the next day, and we'll have like our breakfast together after we do all the chores. And I find that my body really likes that. So having that time to repair itself. And Krista was saying that Dr. Sebi's diet and mucus is a base for all sickness. And yeah,
it is.
And your body needs that time to just, cleanse itself and do all that work while it doesn't have to digest. So it's really important.
And again, where is mucus coming from? How is mucus forming? It can't form from alkaline foods. Alkaline foods don't cause mucus. The sort of heavier pulps from vegetables can contribute, but they're not the cause of it. They can contribute if you're already savaging your inside via acidic foods. But they're not the cause of it, but they can contribute to it. So the idea is like with juicing, you're removing the pulps out of your food, and all that's left is pure liquid. So that's what we're saying. So when you're juicing your foods, your body is barely even working at all. So your body is still doing this, and that's what's necessary. It is in total meditation. And when it's in meditation, your body is healing you now and in the future is planning. Because remember, everything is done through Al the chemist. Al the chemist, alchemist, Al the chemist, Santa Claus is God's best friend. How do you absolutely know that Al the chemist, Santa Claus, is God's best friend? Because the colostrum is located right next to the mercy seat. You think that this is a mistake, or you think, sometimes if you hear this, do you think I'm making this stuff up? This is all inside your head. And it's all inside of these medical encyclopedias as well. They don't try to hide it. They don't explain it to you, but they don't try to hide it either. It's all there. It's all real. So the colostrum produces every blood cell in your body. Therefore, it's responsible for every organ. It's responsible for all of the systems that are based in and around the flow of blood. It's responsible for white blood cells. So therefore, it's responsible for your bones and your bone marrow. So the colostrum is incredible, and it produces all of your secretions. That's what your endocrine system is. Your endocrine system is a miracle beyond description. That's Santa Claus. That's Al the chemist. That's what he does. And he's in his laboratory, and it's tinctures, and it's a drop here, it's half a drop here. That's how sophisticated your body and mind work together with Al the chemist, Santa Claus in the colostrum. It's that incredible. And it's just little bits and little bits. It's so subtle. And remember, the three predominant secretions within you are melatonin, serotonin, and dopamine. Where do they exist? That is the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and the hypothalamus. That's your third ventricle of your brain.
Now, I was gonna interject here and just say that in eating all of these alkaline foods, there's one way that I'm reading the different things, the different authors here that they're naming, Dr. Arnold Ehret, Dr. Robert Morris, incredible scientists and doctors at the same time, right? They do all these experiments with themselves. And I also read a book about urine therapy. So that was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had a really incredible experience with a lady who was an iridologist, amongst other things that she did. She was a naturopathic doctor, and she spoke only Spanish, so I had an interpreter at that time. And she was telling us to just drink your urine, and I was just in shock. I thought it was a joke, right? And then I started doing research, and I was just amazed at this. It took me a while. And then cleaning my diet up, I began to experiment. And when you do this, you know what your body's doing, because you're able to taste what it is you're eating, and it makes you really diligent as well. You don't start eating foods that, like, if you drink a beer, it's going to affect the taste of your urine. And in the morning is the best time to ingest your urine. And so I started experimenting, and I had other friends online that were also doing this, so I had some support. But I found that they would stop doing it, and I continued doing it because I just saw the benefits of it in my own body. And when I would
refer to it as a fountain of youth, is that correct?
Yes, that's what many people say. Yes, it's to me, it's a medicine, and it tells me so much, and it gives me feedback. It's like a biofeedback for my own body, and I know that it's a big taboo thing, and I'm now telling everybody out there that this is what I do, but it is true, and I've been doing it for about two and a half, maybe 3 years. It's if I had a scorpion bite, which we do have scorpions here, and I've had the stings, and I've put urine on it, and it's amazing. It's amazing what it does. And if you had a snake bite or something like that, it's the first thing I would do is put that on. It's an what do they call those when they antivenom?
Yeah, yeah.
Your body knows what to do with
yeah,
it. So.
Yeah. Anti-venomous serum.
Yeah.
And it's just so true. The first thing about urine therapy, and when you research it, is that the first thing that strikes you is how unbelievably complicated the process is, from where your urine begins to how it comes out of you. And when it comes out of you, it has gone through, and doctors will, most doctors don't know any of this, but those who kind of specialize in the area, they'll say the same thing. It is a miracle process. The whole process, it is a filtration system like nothing has ever been designed before. Of course, because it comes from the Father. He knows everything. It's his creation, so it's perfect. So why are we drinking cow's milk when not even a cow drinks cow's milk past a few months? And they have to fortify it with all these other things to make it valuable to you, vitamins and minerals. Really, I don't know, just have a fruit or vegetable. They're filled with vitamins and minerals. It's insanity. And so why are you drinking cow's milk and forcing a beautiful sentient creation that, and if you spend any time around cows, this is another thing that gets us, because they're all around us, and then they hang out with us because I think they sense our energy. And they love us, and we love the cows. They are so smart, and they're so loving. They're so caring. They love all of our animals, and they're an incredible being. So why would you do this to a beautiful, very emotional, sentient being instead of just drink your urine, when your urine is the most filtrated substance known to man? So if you're drinking, you want something pure. There's nothing more pure than your urine. There's nothing more filtrated than your urine. It's perfection. And when you take it, remember, it's you, and it's made by you, God, and Al the chemist, alchemist, Santa Claus, all of this stuff. So Santos teaches that we are the Garden of Eden, and the Garden of Eden exists within us, and that there are 4 rivers within us, and they're the 4 rivers of the the supposed literal Garden of Eden that's out there. The Tigris, Euphrates, the Pishon, and the Gihon. The 4 rivers inside of you are your CSF, your cerebral spinal fluid, and that's dominated by the chrism oil, which is everything, and your semen, which is the basis of your chrism oil, which is everything. It's your essence, and we're ejaculating our brains out like crazy with our essence. That is fucking insane. I'm sorry for the language, but it needs to be said. That's fucking insane. We've just been taught the wrong way. you don't ejaculate out. And yes, you can have immaculate conception.
And that's another
I
huge
was going to ask
area.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
can.
huge area, but oh my gosh, like you want to go down some rabbit holes.
Ugh.
I just brought up urine therapy. I mean, we've been talking something radical already, which is just taking out meat, dairy, and eggs. For some people, that's just like, whoa, that's crazy. But we've gone even further, and we've gone down the road of the urine therapy. We've gone down the road of sacred sex, which it just completely changes you. And the whole goal of what we're trying to do is to create our bodies into this pure receptor,
Yes.
right? Like a pure crystal, so that we can take the information that God is giving to us, and we can then disseminate it to everybody else, and
Yeah.
but we can just live this pure, beautiful life. But the fact that all of that's been hidden from us, and now we discover these things, so now you have to start experimenting, and that's why we're here, just to share all of that with you guys, so that we can, we'll learn from you, and we'll learn from other people and all of the books that we read, but just sharing our experiences is so important. So the whole sacred sex thing is just, it's huge. It's huge.
I would like to ask Charlie, if a man feels like he's going to have an orgasm, how do you turn that into not going outwards and to actually have an orgasm and send it upwards?
Such a good question.
It's just like people are going to head down that one.
Yeah, it is. It's just so huge. And
Chipmunk says he loves you.
I love you too, Chip. And I just want to quickly finish the 4 rivers of the Garden of Eden within us. Once again, the cerebral spinal fluid, which is our essence, chrismol and semen, and then you have your urine, then you have your blood, and what's the only thing that's left after that? That's your saliva, right? We are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. That's right. Saliva,
like
sal.
Someone said the sal.
And your salvation is your saliva. And folks, what is saliva? And that's the beautiful thing. Just take some of your saliva, get a piece of litmus paper, drop it on, and what happens? Oh, alkaline, alkaline, alkaline. Your urine needs to be alkaline. Your blood needs to be alkaline. Your semen and the chrism oil. This is the thing. This is where it truly comes from. This nailing some guy to a cross. It's all bullshit, made up story. Sorry for the language again, but it's true. It's made up story. The dying upon the cross is when the chrism oil tries to come through the blood-brain barrier here on the right side. There's a right and there's a wrong way, and it's always the right way is the right side. This is the pneumogastric nerve, or the vagus nerve, returning back. And when it returns back across the blood-brain barrier, it's essentially, because you can't go through Atlas. Atlas is so strong, the 33rd capstone of the vertebrae has to go around it, around to the right. And when it does that, the only way to ascend a thousandfold, because that's what crucifixion means. Crucifixion literally means to be charged a thousandfold, which in our body is the only place to go is up. So it's upwards a thousandfold, okay? That's how you take the 144 lotus petals of the lotus flower within you to 144,000 lotus petals.
So he's talking about the
ground.
Kundalini energy rising, and gets to a certain point, and then it will be supercharged.
That's right. That's right. And so see,
to get it past the blood-brain barrier
that's
into
right.
the head.
And so there's 2 things. One, you have to practice sacred sex. You cannot do this because, well, that's what we found, is that the only way to go up in your body is magnetism. And the only source of magnetism that we have in us is the Kundalini. And that's the Mother Mary, Mother Earth, who should be up, exalted in heaven, but instead has been shoved by these demons running amok, shoved with their head face first into the mud.
Here's what's interesting too, is that our whole lives are centered around sex, right? I mean, we're born through sex, and our whole culture is just all about sex. You watch TV, you hear we talk, it's all about sex. But the cabal has turned that upside down, so it's become that perversion of sex. And everything that we do in our practice takes away from our essence. And so if we were to invert it the other way, and then we have to, instead of having the ejaculating orgasm, we have that internal. So we're bringing everything up. And that, like you said, how do I do that when you feel like you're about to explode? So you have to speak to that. That's
yeah. So, and I just want
to practice too. You have to practice that one.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to complete again, returning the chrism oil home where it gets crucified upon the cross. That's the cross. The pneumogastric nerve that comes out from the ganglion around the spine and then goes around atlas and then back into the brainstem above atlas, and that is at the hypoglossal opening, the 13th opening of the brainstem, because that's leading towards the creation of the 13th cranial nerve, which is the Jesus Christ nerve, which is us, which is what we have to do. It's the whole purpose of why we're here, is to create that 13th
So that's the
cranial nerve.
regeneration.
That's the regeneration, the regenerated man. We have to become the 13th cranial nerve, which is the third ventricle of the brain. It's already there. You just have to get there. That's it.
Activate it.
You have to activate it. It's already built for you. It's there. You just have to activate it.
So the trick is, how do we get that energy up to activate the light?
That's right. So, and there's two things again. So the one thing is alkaline. The chrism oil is very sensitive, and so is the psychophysical seed.
The fire will be put out if you have an acidic nature.
That's right. And so that's why, more than any other reason, the number one reason why they push acidic thoughts and acidic foods is to kill the chrism oil. Because if you ascend, they're done. Because as soon as you begin to know about the chrism oil, they're done. And you start to go, this is something that I need to do and I can do. They're done. Because once you see that goodliness, godliness, and the creation of God, and that all of this is real and it's inside of you, they've lost. They've lost because they can't go inside of you. That's why the Catholic Church and all these religions are so against meditation.
So how do you do it?
So once again, the two things. You put Jesus and kill Jesus upon a cross by an acidic system. So the chrism oil cannot exist in an acidic body. It'll die, and that it dies upon the cross. It can't get passed into the blood-brain barrier. So you're crucifying Jesus on the cross. The chrism oil, that's one. The second one is that there's no charge inside of you. The way you create this charge for the chrism oil to make it through the blood-brain barrier,
or at the very least, one of the ways we've been taught.
Well, no, but it is the way. The only way to create that charge is to harness your ejaculations, and that's the thing. So that'll now lead us into the question that Billy asked, which is a great question. Here's the thing. It's hard in the beginning because we have been told the whole purpose of sex is to have an outward ejaculation. So you're not a man and you're not a great sexual partner unless you've had a long sustained outward ejaculation. So we've trained ourselves physically and metaphysically to push and push and push and push until we get it out of us. And then if you're like me, after that occurred, my whole life, I explained that to Colleen when we first met, and I shared those things, and I know that there was something wrong with me, not my partners, and these beautiful women, and I just want to share with you, even though going through university, being the quarterback on the football team, and being athletic and a top academic student,
saying he was a hottie.
I did not partake in a lot of relationships, and I did not partake in a lot of sex. It just wasn't me, especially multiple partners and all that stuff. It just wasn't me. And I'm thankful for that I didn't have, and I don't have a real sketchy past that way. But when I would have sex with one of these beautiful women that I never fully appreciated, I would just feel terrible afterwards, and I would want to leave. And what I came to realize eventually is that I didn't want to leave them per se. I wanted to leave me, because I somehow inside of me knew that what I was doing was wrong. I didn't feel good about myself, and I felt so tired and so weak. And that isn't right. And so one of the first gifts that you get by controlling the golden spasm, that's what an orgasm means. Orgasm is golden spasm. The golden spasm has to be controlled. When you control the golden spasm, you are the master. See, more flat earth stuff. Yeah, more flat earth. And the foramen the tunnel to Santa Claus, to the colostrum, and it goes right up to the center of the earth. That's why the colostrum is at this crown, not this crown. The colostrum is not at the crown top of your head. The colostrum is at the crown at the back of your head, because the colostrum is always pointing to the North Pole, or what we should be calling it, the magnetic pole, or the center pole. That's why there's only one magnetic pole, because there's only one pole. The earth is flat. Don't let anyone else tell you differently. President Trump or Q or anybody else. They have to release truth in little bits right now, because people are freaking out about the littlest things, let alone the earth is flat. So this is our sacred purpose. And when you harness the golden spasm, you're gifted energy. So now when we have our sacred sex, I am now gifted with like a 4, 5, 6 hour burst of energy that is
versus falling asleep.
Right. Yeah. And feeling terrible. I now have the energy to complete the rest of the day and be.
And it's absolutely
fresh.
true.
It
What
is.
you're saying is absolutely true. But again, it's we'll have to do a complete podcast on it.
Very specifically, Charlie, can you specifically say what it feels like, what you do, how do you practice?
Yes. So here's the first thing. You have to change your definition of the orgasm. And so I'm going to just flat out tell you, and it's great. It's going to sound terrible in the beginning, but it's great. You have to let go. It's going to mean the end of this one gigantic explosion, and it feels so amazing for 3 seconds, because it literally is. It's ringing the bell, the pineal gland. It's ringing the bell. And then it's over, and then you just feel horrible. No, that I'm sorry to tell you this, but that needs to stop, guys. But see, what comes is so much better. It's so much better. And this is where I've shared, and I
Jane just says, so is it better to have sacred sex than to abstain totally?
Yeah, so you don't want to abstain from sex. Like it's abstaining from sex is better than having fallen sex. Yes, because you're killing yourself. That's the biggest way we kill it, even more so than acidic foods, because the most acidic thing we do is turning the alkaline semen into an acidic destructive force, because when it leaves us, it turns into like a battery acid. When it's inside of us,
kind of interesting, because when you have citric, like an orange or a lime, and it's acidic on the outside, but when you ingest it, it goes alkaline.
That's right.
Right. So it's the opposite with your semen. It's alkaline on the inside and then comes out acidic. So it's not a great thing for the women to be having. And I can attest that there are, a lot of women get yeast infections and different type of infections from having sex, because the ejaculate inside of you.
That's right, because the semen, which is the most pure and alkaline substance within you, is your saliva and your semen. Those two are the two most alkaline substances you have. When you ejaculate outwards, your semen turns into battery acid. And well, it should, because it's telling you don't do this. So here's what has to happen, folks. You have to redefine what the orgasm is. So here's what I do. This is how it works. And remember, when we first started, there's a lot of stuff written about it, but none of it is really accurate. So I'm gonna eventually have to get around to writing the book on it as well. But first, we want to do a really great podcast that will do it justice. Okay. So, because nobody's properly explaining it. We want to be the ones who are explaining it properly. So for the male of the species, you have to redefine what an orgasm is. You have to be totally okay with that, and then reap the rewards and the benefits of doing this. So you're not allowing yourself to get to the point. Once you start to feel yourself beginning like, oh, okay, this is happening, and anywhere from say 5 to 10 more seconds, and this is going to be Old Faithful.
Uncontrollable, right?
Uncontrollable.
It just will happen.
That's right. That's when the mass star has to kick in, and you must become the enlightened bodhisattva, and you must transmutate yourself instantly.
Here's what helps is mantras, which is, it kind of can be weird if you've never done that kind of a humming or any kind of thing with each other. So that again takes practice. Maybe just practice that while you're not having sacred sex. Right, you could just burst out laughing. What are you doing? But that can help you focus your energy, because it's mental. For me, it's just a mental thing. I have to be able to control my mind, and when I can control my mind, then my body will follow. But it's the other way around. During the outward orgasm, you just let your body do its thing, and your mind does whatever it does to get you there. But so a mantra, or the kind of a humming, or
That's right. And even
om,
just achieving again the M,
or even inside your mind doing something like that.
Yeah, so that's why they teach you with all of these chants. And you remember, the vowels are the feminine, the consonants within the language are masculine. So A, E, I, O, U are vowels. That's the sacred feminine. Again, that's why there are 5, because it's the 5 physical senses. So they're ruled over by the moon goddess Sin, which is Mary Magdalene, which is the non-controlled dogs, which is the non-controlled mother. There's nothing wrong with Mary Magdalene. She's so perfect. She's so beautiful. She's just been pushed down into the Muladhara root base chakra.
So, and that's where your orgasm
plane.
starts, right?
That's right.
It starts right down there.
Mm-hmm.
So does this apply to women as well? You know, like women can ejaculate, but it's not as frequent as men, obviously. But what about just a normal orgasm for women? Is that outward as well? You know, do you try and control that? Because I thought when a woman had an orgasm, it gave her more power, and when the men ejaculated, they lost power. So I always thought it was unfair. But how does it work for you?
Well, the key thing to note, Billy, is that there's the 2 fluids, right? So you've got your sperm, and that's the whole purpose of sperm is for the procreation. So the woman has sperm as well. That it just would be in the form of the egg. So the sperm and the egg, but the same thing. They're made out of the exact same material, and they're for the exact same process. So so women do have sperm, their sperm are eggs. Okay, so and there's 2. So that process is for the procreation, but that is that only comes through the primal fluid within us, which is the semen. And women have semen. You just don't see it, but women absolutely do have semen. Well, and it has to be controlled.
I've even heard that some women do have outward
Apparently,
ejaculations. Yeah. But it could just be a flow of fluid.
Yeah.
But it absolutely is a flow of fluid. And again, each person is different, and depends on your level of health too, as to what that can all look like inside of you.
So the process, I noticed, being consciously aware, the process from my perspective for Collywog seems to be so much similar to me. So it's all about, so you're connecting with each other, you're locking eyes on each other. It's just the most amazing.
That's why they call it sacred, right?
Yeah, and unity consciousness sex. That's, the other term for it is unity conscious, because you're one. And that's the beauty, right? It's the Ida and the Pingala climbing via the magnetic energy. Magnetism rises.
And you want your partner to be having that experience, and your partner will want you to have that experience. So it's an intention too, that you're both really, working towards that raising of the Kundalini.
That's right.
Instead of just, the opposite, which was just getting off.
Yeah, and so the purpose, of course, is to bring your internal ejaculation all the way up to Ajna, which is the 6th in-body chakra, Asia, Ajna, the 3rd eye chakra right here. And of course, what ends are these 2 great nerves of the nadis, the 2 principal nadis, the electrical fire of the nadis versus the chakras. And so the male nadi is the Pingala pineal. That's how you remember it, word association. And Ida, the feminine, is the pituitary. So when you're completed, when you raise the magnetism, the Kundalini, and this is the dance, it uncoils 3.5 times. It's just so beautiful, and it's so perfect. And then that's what happens. And the pineal gland, which is up and to the right, and the pituitary, which is a little down and to the left at the third ventricle of the brain. This is where the pingala, pineal, up and to the right, and it's looking into the third eye. And then the Ida is looking into the third eye. And there you are. There you are. So the thing that's so amazing, folks, is that you in the physical plane as two solid physical beings are locked eyes on each other. And it's the most beautiful thing. I mean, I love the Collywog.
What's that?
Doggy sex is out.
Yeah. And when you start this process.
Oh, and I think you'd asked a question really quickly. You just said multiple partner scenarios.
Yeah, a lady sent that one to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Nope.
And that's the thing with sacred sex. It's about the love connection and the bond that you have.
She's basically saying lots of guys these days, because of pornography and the extent it's got to now, many young men are getting their brains warped, and actually it physically damages their brain if they're watching pornography from a young age. Yes. And now they expect, to have lots of partners and to, bukakis and all this kind of stuff or whatever, it's totally wrong. So they've got, these women are having to deal with lots of guys to make them degrade themselves, really. And obviously some of them want to be good and holy.
Well, and Santos has something to say about that too. And he says that when you share fluids and experience with someone like that, you are absorbing their essence and it's always with you. And that puts everything into perspective when you start thinking about that. Do I want to be linked to that person forever? You'd start making better choices. But as for the sacred sex and being able to raise that kundalini, you have to have that bond and that experience with each other. You can speak to that too. It's just, to me, it's like the ultimate.
It is, because as I was just saying, so you have both partners staring at each other, which is, it means everything in the world to me, because I love Collywog so much and respect Colleen so much. And so we're looking at each other. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But remember, inside of you, your pingala, my pingala and my Ida are looking at each other. Her pingala and Ida are staring at each other. So you see, as above, so below, as within, so without. It's all playing out with you on two realms, always, always. So the decisions we make in the physical realm have powerful consequences in the mete physical realm. So where does this word, this is, I think, important to just quickly segue here. Where does this word meta come from? Because we have people accept this. They just accept it. There's a physical us and there's a metaphysical us. What does that mean? Well, I think metaphysical means it's like the spirit us, right? The spirit of meta comes from the word mete, which the Catholic Church and the literalists and organized society have tried to tell you means meat. And once upon a time, it literalized into meat, but meat didn't mean animals, eating animals. Meat meant just your food. And of course, as we're frugivores, that just meant fruits, vegetables, dates, figs, beautiful, what the earth provides. Regeneration and abundance always. And so that's sort of the literalization of mete. But the real definition of mete is a gift from God. Now remember, God is not a physical being, and God is not action. This is why you see there needs to be a Noah, there needs to be Moses, there needs to be Joshua, that there needs to be Jesus Christ. There has to be these people, because you know what God is? This is God. In perpetuity. God is stillness and silence. All that exists is God in a single moment in meditation. He creates all of this by being in a meditative state, and he cannot leave that meditative state. So for any goodness to occur in this world, that's why the number 7 exists, and that's why the number 7 is so powerful. We all have to become the number 7, because that's agents of goodliness, godliness. That's why, chapter 6 in the book of Joshua, the city of Jericho, that's the third ventricle of your brain, by the way. Jerusalem just means the third ventricle of your brain. Jesus, Jerusalem, Jericho, all the letter J's are magical. And they're just referring back to the place where it comes from. And so we have to become these agents of God, because God's not going to do it because God can't. This is God's creation for us. And so we just choose. We choose the 7 layers of heaven above, or we choose the 7 layers of hell below. Now, 7 plus 7 is 14. What else do we know has 14 levels, 7 above, 7 below?
pH.
Litmus paper, and the determination of your pH balance. So this is a podcast in itself one day when we get the time, because in the middle is green shift, balance, harmony, the Mother Earth, and that becomes, Middle Earth is the number 8. It's the eternal plane. 8 is eternal, the 2 Ouroboros in perfect unison, above and below, physical, metaphysical. So what happens is the reason why the physical Earth is the only solid existence that exists. Everything else, like you go up into the sky and there's no moon or sun to go to. They're just luminescent frequencies that seem to have a circular shape to them. There's no solidity anywhere else, because the only way to create solidity, and someone was asking this beforehand, and that is a brilliant question. And that's because the octave of the scale is the completion of the scale. So the octave is 8, and we have 7 layers of heaven above, 7 layers of hell below. So how all of this works is that you and I exist on the middle plane, which is the 8. So in total, there's 15. 7 above, 7 below, and Middle Earth in the middle. 7, 7, and 1 is 15, which adds up to 6, which is the journey of man. Is perfect. That's the journey of man. And the journey of man is to choose which way we're going to go. Below, which is hell, above, which is heaven. And so so when we take thought, when we take action through the thoughts we take, we're collapsing. That's why they call it collapsing the wave function, because you're pulling down or pulling up heavenly or hellish energies, and you're turning that into you in the physical, on the physical plane. That's why the only thing that is a physical material plane, that's why they call it the material plane, is flat Earth. That's it. That's the only thing. Everything below us is metaphysical. Everything above us is metaphysical. It's not solid. The only way to create solidity is through the eternal 8. And that's the whole purpose of Middle Earth. That's why it's in the middle. That's what Professor Tolkien wrote about. It's in the middle between goodliness, godliness, and evilness and devilness.
So in the duality, we get to live whichever section we want to and experience both. But definitely we want to get to the higher levels. I wanted to just quickly say to you, Billy, that you were asking, how do I stop that orgasm from going out? And it's in the beginning stages, it's very important to just, if you have to, just stop and regain yourself. Because if you feel it coming, you have to stop yourself, because it just gets out of control. It's like a beast. It's like it has a mind of its own.
Like for 2 or 3 weeks, but I feel like sometimes it's like a build-up of it, and then you're like more sensitive the next time. So I'm thinking, do I need to do something with it to kind of? I thought if you had an internal orgasm, that would take away the need to feel like you had to have one. I wondered if that was part of the process, or if I'm not over the ejaculated, but then what do you need to do, to with that energy, because it kind of builds up.
That's right. And listen, Billy, in the beginning, what Collywog says is absolutely true, and I still do it to a great extent, which is just to pull out, just pull out. And the thing is that when you don't ejaculate, you do not lose this sacred, beautiful feeling. So it doesn't go away. So that's why you can continue and continue and continue. So here's the gift. So versus then having one enormous feel-good moment for 3 seconds, and then it is literally hell on earth afterwards because of what you put your body and mind through. what you're gifting yourself is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what you might call, say, minor orgasms. And so, and what happens is that you get really good at this. You're just constantly feeling the orgasm. And so what you come to, this is the secret that I was going to put in the book. What you come to realize is that the orgasm is in the awareness that what you're doing is so perfect and so right, and that being with your partner is so right, that is the euphoria. That's the orgasm. The orgasm is the consciousness, the clarity, the vision that you get in that moment, going, oh my gosh, this is my partner for all eternity. What I am doing is so perfect. It is so right. I feel so good about myself. That's the orgasm. And then that feeling doesn't go away. And so basically the biggest thing is that in the beginning, yes. And sometimes the orgasm, if you, especially having you had sex in a while, it can come very, very fast. So you just have to be very careful in the beginning. And so that's what you're just doing. So it may seem choppy in the beginning because you're having to pull out.
And that's why it's good to have a relationship where you're both having the same intentions, because if you're having sex with random people and you have to control yourself and they're just going, what are you doing? Like, so you have this relationship where you both have the same goals, and you're not just trying to please each other, but you're actually trying to raise your Kundalini so that you can have a regeneration and that we can live a life much longer together, in health and do all of the beautiful things that we believe humans can do, which is to have telepathy and to have all of those incredible magical qualities that we've been told that regenerative people have. So that's our goal, is to get to become the Tartarians, the Aryans that we were meant to be. And that is the whole goal of the sacred sex for us. So our minds have had to change a lot in the way that we look at that whole act of sex.
Women are very much trained to want to get it come as well these days, It's like you feel it's like an achievement. The man came and I made him do it.
Exactly. So that's a whole mindset that you have to change. So that's just work that you do with yourself psychologically. And then if you can have a partner that you can work with together, that's just I
was going to say this. I read a book a while ago by a Native American, can't quite remember it, but basically he said he was in prison after some riots to do with the 60s. And there was a big prison riot with lots of Native Americans. Anyway, he masturbated a lot in there, and he actually said he had the Kundalini rise through his masturbation. So I was wondering if people can't find a partner who's into this kind of stuff, can people do it themselves?
I would definitely be practicing that by myself if I did not have a partner, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
so you can't have that, so I thought it'd be missing.
But you have a great imagination.
That's right. And then but the whole point of this is that we're supposed to rule from the right brain, right? That's why the right hemisphere of the brain is 90%. And that's why the left hemisphere of the brain is only 10%. So the whole point of this dime brain, that the left brain being a dime brain, and that you turn on a dime, is that you're supposed to only spend a small amount of time, because the left brain is made by God as well. It has a value and a function. It's just, it should never start anything, nor should it finish anything. It is a tool to be used and controlled.
Our ego lives.
That's right.
And that's where the demon
that's right.
who wants to rule us lives. And
Mm-hmm. So this process is supposed to be about the right brain, which is inside out. So all life is what's called an emergent property. This is a word that is highly undervalued and not used near enough in our society, especially the truth community. Emergence is a word that needs to be fully understood and used, because all life is an emergent force. So all life comes from within and then is exalted out, and it's what you make of it. So if you do not have a partner, just know, and this you know, new age, oh, this is just so lovely, new age spiritual stuff, Charlie. We're not gonna blow smoke up your skirt. This is the truth. Build it and he will come. We are gonna, as we get more time, we're gonna do the podcasts and all these songs and all of these movies that literally have found their way to the screens in Hollywood, that have been telling the highest truths. And one of them is A Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner just did, why did he do so many movies about baseball? He loves baseball. No, because baseball is an allegory for the ascension of man, Jesus Christ. And that's why it's a diamond, because it's all about turning the pineal gland from a desert wasteland, which is essentially what a baseball field is. If you don't build the diamond, then what is just a baseball field? It's just sort of like sand or dirt. It's just like a desert as a vast plain. And the purpose of baseball is to have the diamond. That's what, when you use your pineal gland, it turns from a vast desert wasteland into solid rock. And that's where you build your home. You build your home on the pineal gland, because it literally turns into a diamond shape and a solid substance. That's where you build your home. And no storm tormente can ever disrupt your beautiful home when it's built on the most solid of rock. That's what that allegory means. So when you're practicing, if you don't have a partner, yes. So again, the question, is it better to have sacred sex, say alone, than abstain from sex? Yes. God is saying to you that sex is so important. It's a 3-letter word. It's not a 4-letter word. Number 3 is everything. Mother, father, child. Number 3 is everything. And so that's why it's sex. And the letters, sex. Wow, we don't have time to get into that, but it's a magical, beautiful word. And it tells you the whole journey of man, right? X, balance, male and female, Eden, Pingala, unification, mother, father, above, below. It's perfect. So yes, and then here's the thing: build it, and she will come. Build it, and he will come. You trust us on this. You will attract the right person to you when you get in the right state of mind. And what's the right state of mind?
A magnetism in you. And
exactly. And your magnetism of going to the right, it forces those awful men who just use and abuse, or women, it forces them away from you. Bad people, or
they won't be attracted to you.
Exactly.
And if they are, it won't take long before they're repelled.
What is magnetism? See, you can get a degree in university in virtually everything. You can get a degree in late 1940s, herbal poetry. And you can get a degree in that in university. It's unbelievable. I got a doctorate in that, and I can tell you all about herbal remedies in poetic form from 1940s. I'm a genius. I wrote a book. What you can't get a degree in university is magnetism. What? So once again, let me just draw this right on the screen here. What is magnetism? Do you see that? It's the number 8. The number 8. And what is the number 8? No beginning and no end. And it rises, and then it comes back, and then it rises, and then it comes back, and it rises. There's no beginning. There's no end. Magnetism is eternal. So when you talk about, see, everybody says, oh, this is just pie in the sky, new age stuff. No, it isn't. This is real science.
This is exciting, because this is what's coming up right now with a lot of people at Tesla, and Donald Trump is putting in these 5G towers, and oh my God, we're going to die. Yeah. But what if they have been exchanging them, and they are now going to be Tesla towers? So the Tesla, all of the technology for free energy and all sorts of other things, healing our bodies with certain frequencies, that it's amazing. So this magnetism is going to be a big part of our education. So raising our own magnetism is really important, and we will be able to completely understand all the things that are going to be coming for us to learn. I've noticed a few people here are saying, asking about the Q.
Okay, well, we can transition into that, but I do just want to finish this sort of, at least you have a whole understanding of magnetism. So magnetism is Mother Mary. And so what I was talking to you earlier about chanting, it's always chanting starting with the feminine. So that's the vowels.
Because it's the sonic.
So that's right. The 5 physical senses ruled over by physical. That's why the 5 vowels are feminine. So A, E, I, O, U. And when you complete that resonance, you always ground it with the M, which is the mother. Of course, how do you ground anything, everything? You ground it into the earth. What's the earth? The mother. The mother, Mary, magnetism, Mother, Mary, magnetism, M. And this, by the way, this gets into the Hitler podcast that'll come up in part 3 when I get into the deep stuff about Adolf Hitler, how much he actually knew about real Christianity, which is Zoroastrianism. And that's just the night sky. It's what Zoroaster did. He decoded astrology, and that's astrotheology. Santos is the master with that. And so this whole process of magnetism is so absolutely beautiful and perfect, because it's a rising force that then returns and then rises and returns. So it's an eternal force. Now, these are called scalar waves, and they're in the shape of the number 8. Scalar or longitudinal waves are also known as Tesla waves. And Tesla always gets painted as this electrical dude, and he just loved to sit in front of electricity, and he was all about electricity. He was this sort of electrical genius and monster and blah, blah, blah. Tesla started with electricity, and then he moved on, because electricity is kind of a one-trick pony. It's a downward causation. These are transverse temporal waves. So in other words, just think of electricity as an ocean wave, perfectly oscillating. It'll oscillate forever until such time you use it. When you use it up, okay? And then it has to recharge. So there's a period of time where it's dead. That's what happens with these transverse waves.
And that's what an outward ejaculation is.
It absolutely is. It totally is. And so that's the problem with electricity. It's nothing wrong or bad about it. It's just there are better things. This is the same with fuel. People get all bent out of shape about using oil and gas, which are not fossils, folks. I mean, they're lying to you. This is just abundant in the ground. It's made by God and the Mother. It's just the fluid of the ground. It's not. So we spill oil. You're not hurting the mother. She made it. Just think about that one for a sec, okay? It's kind of common sense.
Not so great for the animals.
Not so great for the animals, that's right. But if they didn't put all these harmful things in it, which is what they do to make it so harmful, then it wouldn't be so bad. It would just be sticky and good. But there are such better things to use. That's the whole point. We can choose from this infinite array, 7 layers of hell. So oil and gas, that's why they're down in the earth. That's right? You see that? Below Middle Earth, down in the red soil, red shift, left brain, devil, Satan, opposite of Jesus, ascending upwards. We're using the wrong energies. Nothing bad necessarily about them. It's just that they're messy and they're inefficient, and that you have to rape. And so you see all of these connotations, they fit because it's all hell. It's all hell. And you have to be very aggressive and invasive. It's not good. Or you can go up. What goes up? Magnetism. Magnetism rises. What does electricity do? It goes down and then it dies. That's what electricity does. That's what Tesla said, that Einstein and these gravitational theorists, they just got completely wrong. They were attributing the natural downward causation of electricity as the force of gravity, and Tesla, of course, disproved. You can't. The different bodies in relation to one another means there can't be gravity. So he disproved it. But what does exist is the electricity down and die. Magnetism rises up and then returns and rises up, which is eternal. So all you have to do to live forever is to become alkaline inside of body and mind, and raise. When you become alkaline, then you raise naturally the sacred feminine Mary, Mother. So going back to these chants, That M, you always follow your vowel with the M. What the M is a gamma wave. And how beautiful is this? The gamma wave in the Greek alphabet, the letter G, gamma, is symbolized by a certain shape. And that's the shape you see with the Big Dipper in the sky. It is the scythe. Okay, so the reaper has a scythe, and that shape of the scythe is the gamma wave. That's what a gamma wave looks like. That's what these M's they go up and then they come down, and then they go up and they come down, and they form this M. And that's what this M. And if you just did that, if you were sick, if you had a cold, anything, if you had the coronavirus and you were going to die because it's from Wuhan, China, and it's just filled with terrible stuff and it's going to kill you, you can heal yourself by just doing that. Just go through the alphabet, through the vowels, A to U, completing each with the M. Just go through and do that, and you'll heal yourself in a day. Just that. You don't need a prescription. You don't need food. You don't need anything else. You don't even need sleep.
So those
just do that.
Those are the kind of things that will be coming out. Absolutely. And someone's asking about when the Q plan plays out more in the public eye, do you think the cognitive dissonance, you read that?
I'll let you go ahead and finish, sweetheart.
From the general population may have an adverse effect towards the desired outcome. A drop in vibrational frequency, symbol, okay. Pledging allegiance.
As the proofs kind of become more obvious, will people start to realise what's going on? Because right now there seems to be a lot of cognitive dissonance, and the news is obviously feeding people's brains full of nonsense. So we're believing in a fake virus going around, and people have got all this opinion of Trump and what he is, So there's still a lot of that pure, right from the election where people were deeming Trump as an idiot, and they're just rolling with that. So will people start to then think, if these things are happening, if they're saying are happening, it's just not very public. When they become more public and undeniable, will the public's opinion start to change?
Yeah, the thing is, and we get this so much, and from some of the, some people we thought would respond to all of this better, but there are just, we're honestly like the only sort of, main truthers that are supporting the whole Q thing, Q and Q plus. Q plus is the president, POTUS, Donald J. Trump. Q is John F. Kennedy. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. This is all will be coming out. John F. Kennedy Jr., who's now John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy is Q.
What makes you so certain? Because, I'll look at all these things and there's just an element of mad inner distrust of politicians and the whole system, the cabal, and you've seen Trump pictures of Hillary Clinton and all these people before. He's been to Epstein's Island, and then so people think it could be a cover, the Hegelian dialectic again, they're still pretending, so yeah, there's that bit in the background. Why are you so certain that this is totally legit and it's going to lead to a good outcome?
Symbology, which is what we teach all the time, and on the radio show, I continue to just do episode after episode after episode. We've now preempted the Chrism Oil book to first come out with the first book, which is going to be on the hieroglyphics of the English language, which will include all of the sacred numerology as well. So that'll be the alphabet and the numbers as well, and it's designed to be a permanent resource guide for you. And it's so important. Everything has been taught to us. Everything that comes from the ancient past comes to us via symbology and numerology. Everything that's going on around us in the so-called elite circles, it doesn't matter. They're the movers and shakers. They're the movers and shakers of this world, and they communicate with one another and to us in symbols and numbers. And you either know this or you don't. And if you don't, you're a victim. You have to know this stuff. And that's all they're doing. And remember, the symbology, this is where when we came into this, the truth community was just sort of becoming aware that everything was symbols and numbers. And so
but they had the impression that it was all evil.
That's right.
All demonic, which
co-opted
has
it,
been
yeah.
exactly.
So all of the symbols and numbers
It's a
come
language.
from God.
It's a language.
It is. It's how God communicates with us within nature as well. It's all symbology.
Colleen talked about the inner mind, you know, and how it's these shapes
Yes.
are natural to us, so that's why the symbols resonate with us.
Exactly so. Exactly so. It's why certain things look a certain way, because there's clues in everything. So every time Trump talks, his speeches are multi-layered. So if any of you, I did a big post on Facebook 2 days ago, I think now, just saying, because we were connected into some incredible things that had started to occur just 2 days ago, and they'll play themselves out in the coming days and weeks. And so I just shared that with a very positive and uplifting. And I just said, you can feel what I'm saying to you is the truth because you can feel it. And that it is a feeling, and the feeling is now palpable, and it's literally. And so then all of these comments from all of our wonderful friends and followers, they were all just saying the same thing. Charlie, that's so syncretic or synchronistic, because I was just saying that to my husband. I was just saying that to my friend. I was just saying that to somebody else. I was just saying, exactly. We're all tuned in. Those that are truly awakening or awoken, we are tapping in to what is real, which is the metaphysical. Meta, again, is a gift from God. And God, remember I said, is stillness and silence. So God is not a physical gift.
So you can see that we're starting to have that connection with each other, right?
Yes. The people call this the 100th monkey effect and stuff. It's just, that's a term used by the Illuminati to take away from this syncretic understanding of connecting one another through the sixth and the seven senses. Okay, remember, how perfect is this? The seven chakras line up perfectly to our seven senses. That we have 5 in-body senses. We have 5 physical senses. You can't deny it, we do. We have 5 in-body chakras. We have the throat chakra, the heart chakra, we have the solar plexus chakra, we have the sacral plexus chakra, and we have the Muladhara root chakra. We have 5 physical senses. We have 5 chakras within the body. Then we have 2 more senses. People know this, but they just some just think it's mumbo jumbo kind of thing because they're so disconnected from it. But intuition through the third eye, and then telepathy through the crown. When you wear the crown, that's how you can always tell the real king, because the real king is telepathic. And the 6 and 7 chakras are above the body, right? What are the 6 and 7 senses? Outside the body. You see? It's perfect. It's perfect. They match up perfectly. And the colors, the traditional colors for intuition. Intuition is always seen as a heavenly blue. And telepathy has always been demonstrated by a royal purple, because the real king is a healer of the mind. And that is the purple crown, the purple rain.
So what's this thing about your gut feeling? Because, you know, that's lower down, but that's like an intuitive thing as well. So what's the reason for that?
That the gut feeling is your solar plexus, because that's where it starts, and it runs to the third eye. So intuition, the sixth sense, intuition plays itself out here, but it starts as a gut feeling, because that's the solar plexus. And all life comes from the sun. That's where, by the way, baby Jesus for the chrism ball comes from. The baby Jesus is a psychophysical seed, an actual psychophysical seed that is created within us once every month or 13 times a year. And that physical seed born in the solar plexus falls straight down to the sexual or sacred place. Plexus just means place, so the sacred place. And in the sacral plexus, there's actual little indentation on the back of the spine. That's the manger. And that is where the psychophysical seed makes its way to. And that just happens to be where the Ida and the Pingala cross. They make their final cross there before they connect to, for the male, they're connecting down to our two testicles. And then for the feminine, it's the ovaries to complete their journey. But the last cross is in the sacred place. And that this is the crossification, the crucifixion. This is the forging of the baby Jesus, which is us, which is the higher us that must rise and get back to the Father if we are to ascend. And then what you learn, and that's why there's this one story in all the nursery rhymes and in all the Hollywood movies. They're all just variations of this one story. What you find is that when you start to go on this journey, there's always a damsel in distress, and she's always down in a basement, and there's always a dragon or a beast that is blocking her, and you have to fight the beast to rescue the princess and raise her
And the
up
beast is
the
your
aisle.
ego. But this is a really good segue here, because they're now talking about on the questions. They're talking about the UK's royal, and I just wanted to quickly say that we're all here to be the king. We are here to regenerate and be the king. So if there's an outward king out there, I think it's a message for us that we need to bring that king inside of us. We need to be the king. So the question was, our feeling is King John is real, but is it just a feeling?
Just a quickly, there's a quick break there. My Christian name on a birth certificate is William James George, and I get called Billy. So it's like, that's 4 kings rolled into one.
That's right. Yeah, and there's no
traditional names for kings, those, you know.
Yeah, and there's no coincidence in that. There's no coincidence in that at all. It's all meant to be.
There's a story about there's a guy who claims that he's the true king. I think his name's Mark somebody.
Yeah.
And especially with this, it seems to be the Queen's disappeared, and there's when the royal gates, what do they call it? The logo, for want of a better word, it fell off in
the unicorn.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's everything. It's absolutely, and it's not a lorry because any kind of truck or mechanical device or nothing goes in through the front gate. So a lorry didn't accidentally tear off the unicorn. We are the unicorn. And
the story of the unicorn and the passport and the chains as well.
Exactly, and the symbology cannot be lost on this. When you look at the original photo of the people who first came up to it and took the photo, what you see is that the collar and the chain was off.
Removed
the unicorn.
from the
was
unicorn.
So this all just accidentally happened because a lorry ran into the front gate, and just the king, the lion, God is still up there with the crown, but the crown is now fallen. It is slumped. And the unicorn's completely off, and the collar's gone, and the chain is loose on the ground. So we are the last unicorn. We are the sacred white magical horse, and that's the right hemisphere of the brain.
Is it the unicorn, the thing going up to consciousness?
Yes, exactly. And that
Third eye.
If the chains have been broken free, it basically means, it's another symbol that we have to then raise our consciousness. We're no longer held down, but we have to.
Perfect.
Magnetism, sacred sex, alkaline food, alkaline thought via meditation, controlling your breathing, qigong, yoga, all of these things, alkalinity of the body, alkalinity of the mind.
And the fact that the unicorn is magical should tell us, and they've had to chain us, right?
Exactly.
To put us in slavery, to keep us down.
That's right, because if you didn't chain the unicorn, where would the unicorn go? It would rise up. Why? Because the unicorn, which is magical, is Kundalini rising. It's the Mother Mary rising back up to the Father.
It says it's the national animal of Scotland.
Ah, beautiful. Beautiful.
That's awesome.
And me wee father is 100% Scottish. Aye, he totally is. I'm a half Scotsman.
I have a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the North Americans claim to be that,
Yeah, we just
No, but it's true. We are the unicorn, and we would rise because we're met. And the thing we're lighter than air because we're light, and that's the thing. Holistic. Charlie and Colleen
magnetism is it levitates, right?
That's right.
And
Rapture.
that's what we will become.
That's right. We become rapturous, and rapturous is light, and light is a holistic word. So it's not just opposite of darkness. You have light, but light is opposite of heavy. So you see this when you look at frugivores. Okay, so we are frugivores, and you look at us. We're athletes, and we're quick thinkers. We're agile creations. We're very thin, and we move very quickly. You look at all the frugivores in nature. That's what they are. They're such quick thinkers. They're such quick movers. They are athletes. That's what we are meant to be. We are not meant to be heavy. What is causing your heaviness? Meat, dairy, eggs. And remember, as above, so below, as within, so without. When you participate in the murder and in the forced breeding,
especially in the conscious level, when you are aware of all of this and you still do those things, that's not good for you.
No, it isn't, because
sorry, made me think of the song "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother."
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, the Hollies, both the two principals, Graham Nash went to Crosby, Stills and Nash, but the principal songwriter, Alan Clark, right? Alan Clark for the Hollies. He wrote about the deep esoteric, as did so many. Remember, folks, one of the greatest bands ever is Britain's own The Who, and Pete Townsend is a true beautiful Gnostic warrior. And believe me, Pete never wrote a song that wasn't about exalting the Father. Okay, the Father, and that's what it's all about. And he wrote all these songs about the sacred feminine. It's all about getting in tune, and it's all about, the straight and narrow, and it's always about, the Kundalini rising.
Those would be lots of podcasts we'll do.
Actually, I seen The Who, and the audience, the movie Quadrophenia, and on the right side, we are the mods, we are the mods. So the audience are all singing, we are the mods. And Pete Townsend, he says, a mod is somebody who doesn't know who they are yet, and he goes into, who are you, And then 5 minutes later, we are the mods, we are the mods. It's like, oh, you just don't get it, guys.
That's right. Pete was very frustrated with, and that's the whole sort of basis to the album Who's Next, because he meant to make a rock opera, and nobody in the band, none of his management team, no one around him wanted to do this. And
so you have these Gnostic warriors wanting to do their incredible craft to share with us, and they aren't able to. And that's what's going to change now. Can you imagine when this energy happens and all of these switches, like the ability to have free energy, and just the fact that we aren't being enslaved anymore, and we're not being mandatorily vaccinated, and all of these things? Can you imagine what it's going to look like? Then someone saying Joseph Gregory Hallett. So we've been doing a lot of research on him lately.
Well, and I let it out a little while ago that we were basicere our first contact. That's why we had a sort of a head start on, I guess, on others in the truth movement, is because Collywog and I were and will be creating this. And of course, in the future now, it's just what all of us will do. We don't have to do it within this horrible system. But what we were looking to do was create a breakaway society and invite all of you beautiful souls to us.
Now the Earth is a breakaway society.
That's right. And we're going to invite all of you who are serious. The only qualification is that you just have to be serious about doing the work. And invite you for free to come and live, and we're just one big family. No rules or laws, just satyagraha and ahimsa. That's it. And so that was this society, and Santos was going to be there, and others, and Josh X, and the whole idea was, like, Santos is just so exciting because Santos wants to create the monasteries, and the seminaries, and that's what we're just going to teach. We're just going to teach people the right way, the Garden of Eden way, about everything. And Santos, and we still want to achieve that. So in doing that, we needed to go through a group who knew how to be able to to disconnect us from the system and to get us to have legal, recognizable documents that would allow us to be recognized in every single country and travel everywhere. So we need this universal passport, and they do exist. And this is getting yourself out of the maritime admiralty water seas,
Which is Jesus walking on the water.
which is Jesus walking on the water. He got off the citizenship, get out of these.
Which is also the unicorn getting its chain removed.
That's right. That's brilliant. That's exactly right. And so that's what we were doing. So this group that we connected to, beautiful group. They know what's going on. They were in contact with Joseph Gregory Hallett, or King John III. And
we heard rumors of that in the beginning. We're like, a lost king of England? I'd never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, and that
everyone
the
has
bloodline,
now.
and that the bloodline goes back to Jesus Christ. And it's like, no, it didn't, because there's nobody in the Holy Land 2,000 years ago by the name of Jesus Christ. Like, if that's what you're selling me, believe me, you're not telling the truth.
So we kind of wrote it off for
That's
a while.
right. So, but what we found out, and of course, he's really great about this. It shows you kind of an intellect at that level of Donald Trump. And by the way, there's a lot of parallels with Joseph Gregory Hallett and Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, just before JFK Jr.'s plane went down in '99, Donald Trump went out of his way to have a meeting with Joseph Gregory Hallett. This is 25 years ago. He went out of his way to have a meeting with Joseph Gregory Hallett, and they met. And so this is what just 3 days ago Joseph Gregory Hallett was saying. He found me out, came, met with me, and he said, this is what we're going to be doing. And it may be 20 years down the road. This is what's coming, and this is what we need from you. Are you on board with all of this? Because this is what's going to happen. And he was reading him into this plan. And then
we don't know how much.
Right. Well, he hasn't gone into great detail about it, but in that podcast, and we have a podcast coming up that's going to deal with Joseph Gregory Hallett very soon. In the recent podcast, Joseph Gregory Hallett said that, as per that meeting, he said, he laid all this stuff out. And so Joseph Gregory, the interviewers asked him, they said, so then what are you saying then, that all of the stuff with the monarchy, this is because of President Trump and Q? And both of the guys that were interviewing him were very much believers in the Q and in Q plus, and that they both agreed that Q was John F. Kennedy Jr. And these are very, very peers of the British society, gentlemen that interviewed Joseph Gregory Hallett. And Joseph Gregory Hallett said, absolutely, none of this would have happened if it didn't come from Trump and Q. So he said that in plain sight. The Queen being taken out and Prince Philip, because what Joseph Gregory Hallett says is that Prince Philip was put there as the Queen's handler. They were not in love. They didn't have sex past, I think, 1954. And they lived, sort of different lives.
Which is not so hard to believe, really.
That's right. And that Prince Philip is one of the most evil men in the world, and one of the highest ups in sort of the out there evil. So that would make him a Jesuit for sure. That would make Prince Philip a Jesuit.
He said he wanted to come back as a virus. Well, actually, it's quite good timing if he's actually died and this fake virus has come along. Maybe it's Prince Philip for the other side.
Yikes!
Yeah. So Joseph Gregory Hallett, so what we can say to you is that all the things that we heard in the beginning actually they came to us via the people we were working with, but they're actually coming from Joseph Gregory Hallett. And the things that he was saying is that Trump was going to be the president, and that Trump as president is a good guy, and that he's going to take down this cabal, and he's going to start by taking down the Fed and turning it back into the hands of the U.S. Treasury. He was going to make himself the head of the Treasury, and that they were going to outlaw usury. This is going to lead to Nasara Jasara, and the release of Tesla's free energy and stuff, and that everything was going to be based upon a new currency, which was based upon, you know, whatever the Americans actually had, anything of value that they actually had, which is what, you know, Hitler didn't have gold. He based it on an honest day's worth of labor. I mean, that is the most beautiful thing ever. So that, don't let anyone ever tell you that Adolf Hitler was a Rothschild or he was sponsored by the, no, he wasn't. They had no money. Adolf Hitler built his own currency off of treasury notes backed by a German worker doing a day of honest work. That's how Hitler's system, that's beautiful beyond description.
To the Rothschilds because his mother worked somewhere for a Rothschild family is the story. That's the link.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
Lies.
But whether, I mean,
take away.
Gregory Hallett himself talks about all the illegitimate children that are floating around out there that are, you know, from the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or just the monarchy or.
Yeah. So again, that's right. So remember,
during their satanic rituals, they're all probably having sex with different partners and having children all over the place.
Remember that the ruling cabal don't get caught up in this Zionism and Jew. They're tricking you. It's fake. It's fakery. Don't get caught away from the Phoenicians. It's the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians are the Canaanites of the Holy Land that were kicked out of the Holy Land. It's an allegory, a euphemism for the left hemisphere of the brain. And they are controlled by their ego. And so here's the thing. They needed to control, that's right. And they needed to control the royal families. That's why they're so obsessed with the royal families, because they hate that these royal families did all come from beautiful bloodlines. They did. They all come from, I have no doubt that Joseph Gregory Hallett comes from Anne Boleyn's bloodline. And she wasn't killed. It's a lie. And Joseph Gregory Hallett is going to talk about, he's going to get a film crew. The money and the people are being provided now. And he's going to show how in the Tower of London, this Chamber of Horrors wasn't. It was just a place where they faked their death. And that tradition has gone on and on and on and on. So when we lose all of these sort of, you know, some of these magical people, we haven't. They've just gone someplace else. So it was considered an honorable thing to do. So he's talking about that. I have no doubt. And just so that all of you know, what Joseph Gregory Hallett, the King John III, admits to himself is that it's not coming from Jesus Christ. There's no such person as Jesus Christ. He's saying that there was a person named Jesus.
He's saying there's two.
That there were second cousins. And there were two of them, and they were both about the same age. And they both worked together to write the Bible. And one of them came back all the way to Great Britain, which, you know, Edmund Blake wrote some of his most beautiful poetry about Jesus returning to Northern Europe and coming through England. It's beautiful, powerful stuff.
So are they just talking about an actual person named Jesus, or are they talking about someone who is of Christed consciousness?
Right. So I'll just quickly explain this. So again, there's nobody by the name of Jesus. It's not a name that would have been used in the Holy Land. So when he's talking about this, what I like about Joseph Gregory Hallett, when he's talking about the bloodline of Jesus, he worked into it allegorically. He worked in Jupiter and Zeus. He did. When he was talking, he didn't tell you that that's where the name comes from, but he allegorically told you, because he said, well, and of course that comes from, you know, the Jesus being the sun comes from Jupiter, because Jupiter is the sun, and then he worked Zeus into it. Jesus is Zeus. Jupiter, the goodly, godly Jupiter, is the sun. Jupiter is for the sun. Zeus is the son of Jupiter, so he's the son of the sun. Saturn is the son of the sun. We are Saturn. Jesus Christ is Saturn, and you have a choice, left brain, right brain. So if you are the right Saturn, remember the 7 layers of heavenly energy above us. What's the highest layer of heavenly energy? This all comes from the ancients. Saturn. Jupiter, then Saturn. The two highest are Jupiter, the sun, and then the son of the sun, who is the exalted one from the Father. That's us. That's us. So who are we supposed to be? We're supposed to be Jesus Christ, which is Jupiter and Zeus. Zeus. Jesus is Zeus. And he worked that into his explanation of his bloodline coming from Jesus. Now, he said the last name isn't Christ. There's no name as Christ. He said Christ is the Christed one. And it's a title to one of these figures that has done the spiritual work and has ascended themselves into a master. He said, so it's like, okay, so you see he knows this stuff, and you have to just be careful about what you're going to say to the public before they put you in a straitjacket and take you away. But that's what he said in plain sight. So he said, there's no Jesus Christ. Christ is a title. And the first Jesus was given the title of the Christed Jesus. Okay, so his name, I would imagine that it was probably either SA, because there is a historical writing in and around that time of a gentleman from Jerusalem that went all the way into the Far East, into the Himalayas, came back, met someone by the name of Ioannes, which is John the Baptist, and so Essa, ESSE is this historical figure. Is mentioned independently in sort of two ancient writings, one from the Far East, one from the Middle East, that talk about this Essa figure that went on a spiritual journey. And it talks that both he met on his way back, Ioannes, Essa and Ioannes, they came back to the Holy Land and they taught the teachings of Zoroaster, which is astrology, which is the sky, which Jupiter, the sun, and Zeus, the son of the sun. Saturn is Zeus. Saturn is just another name for Zeus. So Jupiter, Zeus, Jesus is Jupiter, is Saturn, okay? So we are Saturn. And when we are righteous, we are Jesus Christ, becoming Christ Jesus, Christed Jesus. We are the ascended man who wears a purple crown. That's the only king you want.
So again, it's all right back to regeneration.
It is a purple crown, and because then that's purple rain that falls and heals upon all of us. Alkalinity, purple
so
alkalinity.
It's a magnetic photon light.
It's an emergent magnetic photon light of eternity. That's right. And the false Saturn, the wrong Saturn, and this is all these death cults, the Saturn death cults. It's not the good Jesus. They just inverted. So do you know what Satanism means? Satans are just the opposite of Jesus. They do
opposite of Saturn's.
Satans are the opposite of Saturn, which is Jesus. So they just do the opposite. So there's no Satan. There's no devil. Devil is evil. God is good. There's no Satan. Satan is just the opposite. It's the left brain to Jesus Christ, or Christ Jesus' right brain. That's it. It's so beautiful, people.
So the battle is always taking place between the two temples.
And that's right. And the false crown of the false Saturn is Chronos. And Chronos means crown. It doesn't mean time. It means crown. Chronos ruled through linear time, which doesn't exist. It's bullshit. And so that's the Muladhara root chakra. Okay? And so that's why the false Saturn wears a red crown of Chronos, of the linear time, and bloody red. And
it's 3 o'clock.
And the right king is Christ Jesus, is the ascended man. So I like that about Joseph Gregory Hallett. Now, and for Colleen isn't, because she hasn't done the level of work that I have. I'm perfectly satisfied with his bloodline, and it's a beautiful. And it
why is that important? Why is royal bloodlines important? You know, and if we're all going to be Christ, why should we exalt some people and not others?
Exactly, because the real king is here to exalt you into becoming your own king. The real king isn't here to go.
Otherwise, he's just out of ego, and then, like you said, what do we need another one of those for? We've got one inside of us. We're trying to battle that. Why do we want to battle an outside ego all the time?
Exactly. So folks, for all of you with Joseph Gregory Hallett, here's what we want to be listening for in the coming weeks. If he's saying, look, I'm the rightful heir, pay me all this money, because, you know, you have to pay it out. At least you can start paying it to the right one. And I don't eat children.
So
and right, which is always a bonus, right? When your king doesn't. And I don't pump and pimp heroin. So remember, one of the biggest teachings through his books, Joseph Gregory Hallett's books, and what he's teaching right now is that the Rothschilds, who hate everyone, including themselves, because they're just left-brainers, they're the ego. They hate the royals. That's why they took over the royals, and that's why they forced the royals to have, at these sex parties, sex with virtually anyone and anything to destroy the purity of the bloodline, because they were jealous of the purity of these beautiful bloodlines, which tells you that these beautiful bloodlines did exist, leading back to beautiful figures like Anne Boleyn, who was a beautiful, righteous, white goddess, like Diana, the Venus, the higher mother versus the lower mother. So this is beautiful stuff, and everything that the Rothschilds do is to destroy that. Now, what Joseph Gregory Hallett teaches is that what they do to the royals, and it's Denmark, it's everywhere, they're all fakes. None of them are real bloodlines anymore. So the Queen's mother was a maid, and so the Queen of England, her royal blood is a maid.
Nothing wrong with a maid.
No, but you want to tell people that they have that you have special blood. I mean, but. So what they made Queen Elizabeth do in her youth, she was a mule for heroin. That's why they moved her everywhere through the Commonwealth, and everywhere she went, because you're not going to search the Queen. So she was moving monumental amounts of heroin. So they turned the Queen of England into a drug mule.
So yeah, this is going to be hard for a lot of people
to
disseminate in your brain that these people that we've all looked up to have been the complete opposite of what we thought they were.
So this is I know this is the truth through our research, and this is what Joseph Gregory Hallett is teaching folks. So if you're trying to figure out how to feel about this gentleman, he's saying that the royal families were all pushed to do two things: become heroin drug mules, and I guarantee you that's the absolute truth, and hooked adrenochrome junkies, pedophiles, but adrenochrome junkies. They're the worst of the adrenochrome users.
Yes, Chip, and she did actually steal those children. We're both Canadians, and we heard the stories, and we have a family that were, knew about those things, and she absolutely did steal those children.
That's right, and you don't stop the Queen's plane at Pearson Airport and ask her to get off and check that. She just has impunity because of the system, which means the Rothschilds, because she's a drug mule for the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians are just Cain who slew Abel. Now remember, at the heart of all of this, folks, that's what ties in Adolf Hitler again. Let's just make this so clear. This is so important.
Then we gotta go.
Right brain is goodly godliness. That's where God exists. Right brain are Aryans. Right brain are Jews. Right brain is of the milk and honey of the Holy Land. Left brain is the Semites. Left brain are the Canaanites of Cain. And the left brain is of greed, anger, violence, is the ego.
Because it's out of balance.
That's
because
right.
It doesn't have this. It's just this.
That's right.
I don't know if you can see that. Just this. We need this.
That's
we
right.
need that. We need that balance of both masculine and feminine. So
right.
Anything that's out of balance is just going to run amok.
Right. So what is the Star of David on the flag of Israel, right? And then white and the Tiffany blue. Tiffany, the word Tiffany literally means from Sanskrit, gift, meta, gift from God. Tiffany. That's why Jackie Kennedy, that's why John Kennedy, the president.
Oh, we can't get him going on this because you'll never end.
Had the plane changed and painted Tiffany blue, because that's godliness. Jackie Kennedy at the inauguration.
Mark wanted to know, are these people psychopaths? Are they born that way or created?
They're created. We are all, you cannot pervert God's creation. So when we're born, we are so beautiful and pure. But
what about reincarnation at the end?
Yeah. So yes.
And you. Uh-huh.
Yes. So let me. We can finish with this today if that's what everyone would like. We can finish with this. Why do the evil people do such horrible things, and why are they always looking to outdo the last horrible thing they did and just do more and more and more and more horrible things, because they want to come back. They want to reincarnate into a small select group who have all the power and have all the wealth, make up all the rules.
And maybe they know something we don't. Maybe you can intend yourself back into those families. I don't know.
Well, here's how it works. This is exactly how it works.
It's an energetic frequency.
First off, if you are a human being, you possess human consciousness. You'll never come back. This is what I call kindergarten class or dime store Buddhism or Hinduism, where they talk about you will come back as a bug. No. That's a metaphor. It's just a victim of your left brain is a bug. These are just metaphors. You don't come back as a bug. If you possess human consciousness, you will always be a human being. That's what you're here for, is the journey of journeys, the journey of man, the number 6. That's why the number 6 is not bad. It's great. 6 and 6 is 12, which is 3. It's great. 666 is phenomenal number.
18.
It's 18, which is chi, ether, energy of life. And 1 and 8 is 9, which is God consciousness. It's perfect. 666 is a perfect number. It's not bad. It's what they do with it. So we are here to reincarnate again and again and again until we get it right. And we will go around the wheel, the Groundhog Day wheel, again and again until we get it right. So we have to do this right. The right way is Jesus Christ, Saturn wearing the purple crown of Christ Jesus. The wrong way is Saturn wearing the red crown of Kronos.
So we have to do the work.
Yes.
Or as the elites do, they steal. They steal your essence.
Yeah.
We have to work to build our essence.
Right. What is adrenochrome? Adrenochrome is a man-made version of the chrism oil. They can't raise the chrism oil.
So they steal it from someone else.
So they steal it from children. That's why they're kids. Because they're taking that essence from Santa Claus, Al the chemist, alchemist. They're taking those sacred fluids.
It's the greatest perversion you could ever imagine in all of humanity. It just drives me crazy. And Jane just said, we vote to continue on all night. We'll have a pajama party. Thanks, Jane.
So let me make this so clear. We're born beautiful. We are raised to become what we are. Everything is epigenetical. Epigenetical is above the skin. Epi, above genetics, above the skin. That's what we are. So we are all our environment. So you grow up in a shitty family, you're going to have a shitty life. It's just that simple. And it's that root shitty lower Muladhara chakra. So you have to change your circumstances. That's why that's in the Bible. You have to leave your mother and the father for the true mother and the father. That's what the Bible says. Our parents are playing roles. They're not really your mom and dad. I'm sorry if that offends or hurts some of you. And I know how some of you really love your parents. You should, if they're worthy of it. Only if they're worthy of it. Because the only one who can bestow life is God. Because life is not the skin. It can come and it can go. Life is this. That's the true heart, is the third ventricle, which houses your soul. Your soul is metta. It's the ultimate expression. So remember what I said earlier? Metta is not physical. God doesn't give physical gifts. Metta is a gift from God. So what is a gift from God? It is a thought. All the gifts from God are just thoughts. So why is God's best friend Santa Claus?
So why does he tell you to take no thought, though? And
because then you take his thoughts. So we'll get into that. But so why is Al the chemist, Santa Claus, God's best friend? And why do they live next door to one another, right? The colostrum is right next to the mercy seat at that chimney that's the mast star, the mast pole of the sailing ship, right? That's why all these allegories about sailing, you're seeking for God. The sailor seeks for God. Like I'm going to do on the next podcast, the radio with Sound of Silence and Sailing by Christopher Cross. Again, all of these sacred terms, they're not taught. Christopher Cross wasn't saying about sailing going out on a boat. It's sailing in here. And that's where the mast pole is that chimney of Santa Claus. See how it all ties back in? God doesn't do anything in the physical realm because he is stillness and silence and meditation. So Santa Claus, Al the chemist, is just another Moses, is another Jesus Christ becoming Christ Jesus, is another Noah for the Noah's Ark. All these people, Joshua, they all have to play roles. That's how this works. So when we are born, we're beautiful. Our environment shapes us into what we become, and then we have choices to make. Now, if you become absorbed by this false crown of Kronos and the money and the power and the fame and the fortune by doing all of these evil things, you fall into those 7 layers of hellish energy. You fall into the red earth, the red realm, blood red. And here's the thing. You reincarnate where you leave off. So that's why these death mantras are very important. That's why George Harrison practiced. That's why he taught John Lennon so much about John, because you're famous. Somebody could take you out. So you have to know, John, that if the most horrific, violent act is leading you to your death, you must forgive. You must have forgiveness in your heart. Please, John, you must go with only the glory of the Father, only the glory of God, and the excitement that you're going back home to the Father. You have to have that level of knowingness, because where you leave powerfully determines where you come back. So human beings always will reincarnate into another human being. Guaranteed. Where you go back is how you lived your life, and more importantly, how you lived off. So you see the parable of...
So doing the work is really important.
Of Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge, the Christmas carol is mantra. So the Christmas mantra is that it's never too late. It is never too late. It is never too late. The day you're dying, give yourself over to God and the eucatastrophe begins. It's a miracle, folks. It's so beautiful. You just have to give yourself, and then the change will start to occur. You have to do the work. Yes, there's lots and lots of work to do, but it's never too late. That's really quick.
Really quick. Krista says her son Hugo is 13 and he's a vegan. And what about ETs and other civilizations?
There's no
Hugo.
There's no such thing as space out there. I absolutely guarantee you. However, outer space does exist. They just got it backwards. It's called inner space. And for example, folks, that Gene Roddenberry is a Gnostic teacher. He was an Essene. Those that wrote the Bible is where Gene Roddenberry comes from. Star Trek and the USS Enterprise is enter and you receive the prize. And that's a Galaxy class star cruiser. You can go anywhere and you can contact any other entities, but those entities will not be in the physical, because the physical plane is only here. This is the octave, the Middle Earth. And so what we have here are a bunch of humans that are living in lack and misery because they're continually being coerced into the lower choices of their energy instead of higher. So yes, yes, there are such things as ETs, but in here, not out there. They're lying to you. They've got everything is 180-degree opposite of the truth. Rocket ships to go out there. No, you need rocket ships to go inward here. And it's infinite space because God is infinite. And your meditation is infinite. There's nothing that you cannot achieve or create within you.
So that's about it for today.
Okay, so just to complete, just one last thought, just to complete, folks. Why do bad people do bad things? Because they can. No, they do bad things and then worse things so that they reincarnate back into this tiny group of families that do horrible things. Do you see how this works? The worst things that you do means that your pool of who you come back into, reincarnate into, is tiny. So you have a huge chance of coming back into the Rockefeller, Rothschild. But really, this is the Farnese, the Orsinis, the Colonnes, the Colombo, Christopher Columbus was a Columbo, which is the
all of those
Collen's
group of
family.
300, the Olympias.
This is the Phoenicians and they all moved to Venice, and then from Venice to Amsterdam to London, and then to Rome. So sorry, to Venice to Rome to Amsterdam to London, and that is their web. And that's the trademark, by the way, the Phoenicians. They don't claim all of these vast lands. No, they just take the key cities and then rule from inside out, emergence. Yeah, because they stole all these ancient texts. They've got all the books that are telling us who we are, what we're supposed to do, and they keep them from us, and they don't do it for themselves. So why do they do bad things? To reincarnate into these tiny group of evil people, folks. That's why. And so conversely, when you do great things, your pool becomes smaller and smaller and smaller as well. And you have a great chance of coming back as yourself. You have a great chance of coming back as Mahatma Gandhi or the Buddha or Krishna or whomever, S.A. or Jonas or Jesus. You have a great chance of coming back into these, because it just seems like less and less and less people are choosing the right-hand path. And that's what we have to do, my friends. And
thank you all for showing up and all of your questions. And next time we'll get better at just answering all the questions. I'll teach him.
I think you've done quite well. Well done for reining them in again, Colleen, but pretty good. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we really appreciate you all being here. This was a lot of fun. And it would be great to have a pajama party and carry on all night, but my dogs will not sit still for that long.
It's been an absolute pleasure and an honour again to have you on, Charlie, and for the first time, Colleen. I hope to see you both again, and yeah, I'd like to do this again if you're up for it. And I think it was very good. I think people got a lot from it, and I know you do wonders with the actual recording and put pictures in and just take it to another level, which is really awesome, because when you see these things presented in the physical and in the graphic, it makes a lot more sense, So
it does. For me, I'm a visual learner. I need that. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks very much, people.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you, Billy. This is all made possible because of you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And folks, very last thought for me. Q, John F. Kennedy Jr., very, very real. Q plus Donald Trump, a good guy, very, very, very real. I guarantee it. The essence of us we're guaranteeing this to you. And trust the plan. Trust the plan doesn't mean sit on your butt and do nothing. It means no, you get active and really push, because you can trust the plan. Trust the plan means share it, because you can trust that what they're saying is really, really happening. So folks, it's really happening. And nothing can stop. So I just want to leave you with this.
Where you go one, you go all.
We've won. We've won. How long this takes out, I cannot possibly tell you this, but we've won. We've won. Guaranteed we've won, because the military swung to the impassioned teachings and pleas of the Kennedy family and John Kennedy Jr.
And when that happens, let's all get together and do this again so we can just cry together. It's going to be fantastic. That moment is going to be fantastic. I want to share that all with you guys.
Yes. Yeah.
So to meet in person sometime, that would be the best thing, yeah?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh, that would be here in Mexico. And like I said, we're still working on doing this. Anyone who wants to, that's what we're doing. We just have, all this land around us here. It's just beautiful. It's the golden zone. Everything grows. Is beautiful. And
on that note, we shall leave it there.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody. And thanks again to you too. We'll see you again. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Walk on.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Billy.
Thank you, Billy.